I want to spend some time talking about the Save Your Refund promotion. This is a national savings sweepstakes for anyone who splits a portion of their tax return, and it's been around for 4 years. We've been participating at our VITA sites for 3 years, and so this will walk you through a little bit more about what it is and how we will be integrating it into our programs. So we'll talk about exactly what Save Your Refund is, why we think it's important, how it works, and then how we all ensure that it's a success. So all someone needs to do is save a minimum of $50 from their federal tax return, and they can be entered into this sweepstakes that has weekly drawings of $100 each. Every Friday they're doing 10 drawings for $100. And then at the end, there's a grand prize cash drawing of $25,000. So for someone to say, oh yeah, I'll put $50 of my federal tax refund into savings, the return, the possible return on that is pretty good and better odds than the lottery, plus you keep the money. You're not actually paying out that $50, it stays with you. So this is a really important opportunity to encourage people to save, particularly those who are coming to us who are in that lower income bracket. Many of them are receiving the Earned Income Tax Credit, which substantially increases their federal tax refund. And so by putting just a little bit into savings, we're trying to position them to sustain that financial boost beyond the tax time moment. And so as far as the reasons why we do it, we know that people don't really have emergency savings. A third of Americans don't have any sort of emergency savings. Half of them don't have enough to last 3 months if they faced an economic crisis. But the other thing that we know is that most people who come to us have already mentally spent their refund. They know that they have past due bills to pay. They know that they've been struggling all year, and so they want to spend money on a vacation or do car repairs, pay medical bills. I mean, there's a million reasons, and they're completely justified, of how someone might want to spend their refund. But because we have this opportunity, and because they never can quite predict how much their refund will be, we want to take advantage of that moment and encourage them to save. The federal tax refund can be 20% of a household's annual income. And in fact, we've seen a lot of cases where people are making very little money. Maybe they have earned income of $10,000 to $15,000 a year, and all of the credits plus the refund of their income tax can be half of their annual income. And so certainly this is a windfall of money that helps adjust their standard of living, and we want that. But again, we want to take advantage of the fact that if they have that refund, we can give them a nudge to save. So how we do this is through Tax Form 8888. It lets the taxpayer split their refund. So if they've typically always received it as direct deposit to their checking account, we can, in the tax refund, divert $50 or whatever amount they want into a savings account or savings bonds or another savings vehicle, and just by doing that, we can help them enter this sweepstakes. Again, they have total control over their money. It's not a payment to anyone. They might choose to buy savings bonds, and so there's a little bit of a wait period there, but it's still in their name or in whosever name they designate. And so, we're just trying to give them that incentive to put a little bit into savings. Nationally, they've done some research, and so they know that the prospect of winning a prize does motivate people to save. But we also know that the conversations that they have at the tax site are a motivation for them to save. And so it really is helpful for you to understand what this is and be able to talk to the taxpayer about it, and just give them that encouragement. Last year we had 4% of our taxpayers choose to participate. And I'm actually really happy with that number. I know that it sounds really small, but we know that, again, if people are coming in and they've already mentally spent their refund, or if they've never saved before, we're not going to get everybody to say yes the first time that we ask them. We're not going to get most people to say yes. And so we're just looking for year by year to increase that participation level and make sure that people know it's an option and that they can potentially win $100. So the qualifications are pretty few. If you're over 18 years of age, if you're receiving a federal refund of $51 or more, if you use Form 8888 to split that refund and put $50 into a savings vehicle, then you're eligible to enter the sweepstakes. And so the MyRA, the government retirement account, or if somebody has an IRA already, if they're putting money into, if they're splitting a portion of their refund into that retirement vehicle, they qualify. Now, most people that we see aren't coming in with IRAs. It is possible for them to start a MyRA account if that's what they want to do. But otherwise, certainly the simplest things that we try to encourage is for them to split between checking and savings or to buy a bond. Some people will even come in with a prepaid card if they don't have a bank account, and that those cards will have a way of them receiving direct deposit and sometimes will have a distinct sort of a checking transactional bucket and a savings bucket. Yeah, Diane.
Okay, so when they say yes, the $50 can go into their personal savings account at their bank where they have their checking account.
Absolutely.
How long do they have to keep it in savings?
0.
So they can put it in there,
Yep.
take it out the next day,
Yep, exactly.
and still qualify for
Yep.
the prizes. Or
And
whatever.
you know what? We've used that as motivation. It seems a little bit, finicky, but at the same time, it's like, it's your money.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with it once it hits. Yeah, and so if you are someone who really needs that $50 as soon as your refund comes, make the switch. But the other side of that is somebody might say, well, I have a bunch of bills to pay, and so I want to wait until my refund hits and then see what's left and put it into savings. Well, I get that, but if they can even put that $50 in now, that's what makes them eligible. If somebody says, oh, I need it to go to my checking so that I can pay my bills first, and then I'll take what's left over and put it into savings, well, they haven't done that on a tax form, and so they're not eligible to win. So why not do the minimum required and get yourself that chance to win? So how does someone enter? There's a website. It's just SaveYourRefund.com/enter. And what you'll do as the tax preparer is you'll help them, because it's like a 2-minute process. The prize drawings, as I mentioned, are held weekly on Fridays. We wait a little bit into the tax season to kind of get a good pool of candidates going. But the other piece for people to know is that once you've entered, you're in the sweepstakes for the duration or until you win. So if you come in on that first Saturday of tax season and you split your refund, you're in until either, April 15th, or if you get picked in March as a winner, but it's not that you're entered only for a particular week. So you stay in the drawing until you win or until the sweepstakes is over. I realize that the screens here are not super helpful, but it's just meant to show you that truly it's 4 screens. You're giving some basic information about the person, some information from the tax return without identifying information, and then there's a quick survey. That's 2 questions. So these are the fields. We get first and last name and a phone number or an email. We do want their zip code and state, but we're not even asking for their home address. And because we're a partner in this sweepstakes, we will actually be included in a drop-down list of where they had their taxes prepared. And this is really important because it makes it possible for us to do the verification that they're eligible. It takes another responsibility away from the taxpayer, another burden, really. Because again, we know that a lot of our taxpayers are coming in, maybe not as organized, having to take that extra step of sending in documentation is something that's going to deter them. But if we can do it for them and make it possible for them to get that $100, why not? So they will ask for the total amount of the refund and then how the refund was split. But when you're doing the entry on the Save Your Refund website, you're not entering bank account information. You're not entering social security number. We're just looking at what's the basics to prove that they're eligible. And the type of each account used. So if they're doing checking and savings, or if they're doing checking and savings bonds, or if they're doing savings and paper check, you'll be able to check those two kinds of fields so that they know you actually split your refund. And this is really important. If somebody comes in and says, this is great, I have a savings account, I don't have a checking account, I want to put it all in savings, you're not eligible. And it's just one of those technical details because what makes you eligible is using Form 8888. And so we certainly want to congratulate somebody who says that they want to put their entire refund into savings, but in order to be eligible for this promotion, they have to split. And so in that case, they could do, if they're getting a $1,000 refund, they could do $999 into the savings account and $1 in a paper check. And they would qualify. So you can be creative in how you discuss this with taxpayers in order for them to be eligible. So then the grand prize is a separate contest. Someone who wants to enter that is going to submit a photo about what savings represents to them. They'll include a little caption. We're not going to necessarily help them enter that grand prize. If they want help, if they say, gosh, I'm never going to take a picture at home, can I just scratch my savings goal on a piece of paper and you take my picture? We can help with things like that. But they must be entered in the weekly drawing in order to be eligible for the grand prize. They don't have to win, they just have to have entered in the weekly drawings. And so they can do a website submission of their photo or they can text it. And what we'll do to help them is we'll send them home with a little flyer. And I do have enough of these for everyone to take a sample. But it just gives them some information, and that flyer is specific to the website. So if they want to enter for the grand prize, they go to the website and upload their photo. So what happens if one of our clients is selected as a winner? They have to have that Form 8888 verified. And so again, this is where we step in and do that work for the taxpayer. So as long as when you help them fill out their entry and you say, this person came to the VITA site in Wisconsin at MSTC, they're going to contact us first. And we'll have access to that Form 8888. So they'll call, they'll say, Paul File was a potential winner. Can you send us a copy of his Form 8888? And so we'll scratch out his social security number and we'll scratch out his bank account information, but they'll see his name on the form and the split between different accounts. And they'll say, oh yeah, he's eligible, he meets the criteria, and then they're going to mail him a check. So really simple. So what are we going to do to make this successful? Well, we know that it takes those multiple contacts to get people interested and to get people planning to make that savings. So again, you might hear a lot of no's. You, as a personal tax preparer, every person might say no to you. It's okay. We still want to be asking the questions. And we, at the site level, will be taking all of these different steps to make sure that we've prompted them at multiple points along the way, because it takes that rule of 7 points of contact before they're going to consider it. So when we send them their appointment reminder, we have a tax refund worksheet that includes information about the savings promotion and asks them, how much will you be saving out of your tax refund? We'll have flyers at the site. We might be able to pull together, fingers crossed, some looping video that will just play in the background. The person who does the intake, because it's on this intake form, do you want to put money in savings or buy savings bonds? They'll be asking that question. And then the tax preparer will ask again, and the quality reviewer will ask again. And then we'll try to come up with some sort of visual, whether it's just putting Post-its up of all the different amounts that have been saved, or if we do some sort of thermometer to show our total savings. But the more visual representations we can have, the better. So some examples of how we might have these conversations during the intake. They're going to have that tax refund worksheet when they show up. And so chances are they're going to sit down and they're going to hand every piece of paper to the intake person and say, here's what I've got. So the intake person says, great, I see you received information about our savings promotion with all of your appointment materials. If you get a refund today, are you interested in splitting some into savings? So maybe they say no. That information does not get passed from the intake person to the tax preparer because the tax preparer will ask again. In many cases, if we're seeing someone again, we'll have access to last year's tax return. We also encourage people to bring that with them. It's a good basis for us to know a bit more about their tax situation in addition to the current year information. And so you'll be able to see, oh, well, your refund last year was $500. Why not consider saving $50 this year? Again, just some prompts that can get them thinking about it. And then during the quality review is probably the optimum time because you'll have that final refund number. You'll be able to catch them when they're in a celebratory mood and say, congratulations, you're getting a $5,000 refund this year. Would you like to split it into 2 accounts or buy some savings bonds? You can buy them for your children or your grandchildren. And then to really remind them, if you do this, you're eligible to win a $100 prize. Why not take advantage of that before you leave here today? So Form 8888 is a piece that you're going to add to the tax return. It's not automatically in there like the W-2s or like the 1040s. When we get into TaxWise, you're going to have a template of certain forms that are pre-populated. You will have to physically add this form. But if you wait until you're completely done with the tax return to enter any bank information, it's going to be a simpler thing to do. You'll see when Bob gives an example of how to do a tax return. The main information page is actually going to ask near the bottom, oh, well, do you want direct deposit? And if so, what's your bank account information? You don't want to enter that up front because it might be at the back end that they say, yeah, I'm ready. Put some of my money into savings. And so once you add that Form 8888, if you've already got the bank account information at the front end, the system gets confused. So just wait to enter any bank information until you're done with the tax return. And so the key pieces here are making sure that you check the right radio buttons. And so the button is after the word. So make sure that, if somebody's picking a checking account, that you're checking the right button. I think the bigger confusion is savings. People want to check the button that's in front of savings, and you don't. You need to check the one that's after. So this is section 1. If they're doing everything by direct deposit, you'll just fill out section 1 and you'll be done with it. But maybe they want to do savings bonds, or maybe they want a paper check. And so as you go down in the form, you'll have the option of purchasing bonds for yourself or for someone else. You'll need to enter their name, or at the very bottom, the amount to be refunded by check. And so you'll want to talk with the taxpayer about how they want to split out that refund. But again, as long as they put $50 into any qualified savings vehicle, we can help them enter the promotion. The reason that they selected $50 as the minimum for entering the promotion is because of the minimum bond amount that you have to buy. So you couldn't say that you wanted to buy a $25 bond. $50 is the minimum. This is, I admit, incidental to preparing the tax return. But given the clientele that we see and knowing the struggles that they face in the long term, being able to remind them that if they do this every year, $50 a year, it gives them just that little bit of a nest egg or a cushion to respond to some emergencies. If they're willing to put more in, that's great. But your first obligation is an accurate tax return. But please do have these conversations with the taxpayer